Hey guys, it's Chris here from Chris's Creative Life, and I design workshops that help you create beautiful projects from start to finish with easy to follow guides. Okay, so we are finally here for the companion page to the I Want to Remember layout, and I've got it kind of roughed in. So for whoever didn't see or didn't get the watercolor chart, if you comment chart, I will come back and add that in after. I'll explain what that is, but I wanted to put this down here right away at the beginning. So I'm going to put myself up in the corner, and I'm going to talk to you about what I did here on the first part of the layout. So I did one page. So this is it. It was a really pretty day at the beach. It was actually October. I think I said September when I was doing the original live. Sorry, I seem to have like a little frog in my throat. But it was actually October. So it was super beautiful here. So what I did on this one the first time is we blended watercolor paints to match ballerina, because I knew I wanted to have ballerina in my floral clusters. I love ballerina. It's one of my favorite close to my heart colors. So I mixed the watercolor paints to match ballerina. So you can see it here. It's just a super quick way to be able to add like texture to the background. Sorry, it doesn't like the white. Just one sec. There we go. But you can see here, this is the ballerina made simply with the watercolor paints. So when you look at the chart, it actually tells you exactly what you need to mix to make the color. So there is like a color blend for all of the colors with close to my heart color matches, right? So you just label your paints in order. Mine look like they've been through the ringer. I have some that you can obviously tell are more loved colors than others. But once you number your paints, then it's super easy to blend them, to color match them. So like I said, if you need the chart, if you don't have it, if you comment chart, I will come back and add that link in here. So then some of the other things I just wanted to show you first. So I knew, I wasn't sure when I started, I was going to make it into 2-page spread, but I did know I had more photographs for this. So if you watch the original video, I actually showed you how I would, if I was going to leave this as a single page layout, what I would add to ground it so that it would be a single page all on its own. So if you missed that, it's at some point in the video. I talked about how I would close the layout down to just be a single page. So we did some fun things on here that I'm going to carry over onto the other side. So I have my pieces all cut and ready to go. So I'm going to use similar flower clusters to tie them together. I did the watercolor paint on the white daisy. And then I've got a similar configuration with a different photo format that I'll show you in 1 second here. So I splattered it also with my shortbread shimmer brush. And then I did add some glitter just with the clear. And then I took the lid is off this, but the mini circles, and I picked out the colors that coordinated with the layout, and I used those as my accent, almost like how you would add a sequin in at any point, right? Just with glue dots. So we're going to do that today too. So then the only other thing that I actually wanted to draw your attention to before we started was I did use the layered flowers. You guys know this is one of my favorite thin cuts. And then I always, when there's a thin cut that's got like this many pieces, and there's little small pieces just like this, that once I start cutting things and I get stuff all over my desk, there's a high chance that one of these is just going to get left on my desk and I'll forget to put it in the package, even though it's got the magnetic sheet. So I do not write, this does say 17. So that's the amount of metal pieces I need at the end to go back onto my sheet before I put it away, just to know that I've actually collected them all back up again. So hopefully that is a handy little tip for you. Like obviously if there's one or two, I don't really worry about it. But when there's something this big and I really use all the parts and pieces and might not realize later, like when you look at this funny little shape, if it's just, it's a little stitch center, right? If you see it later sitting on your desk and you don't remember what it comes from, it's much easier to make sure you've got all the pieces before you put it away. Okay. So I think those were all the little tips that I wanted to talk to you about before we started the second page. So I'm going to explain to you how I decided to tie the two pages together. So this is the black and white mix-ins, and I do realize that they are gone at this point. But you could very easily do the same configuration with the love story, the black and white, or even what would be super pretty would be the new mix-ins, one of those. I think it's super versatile. So we'll move the watercolor paints out of the way. But I have created another piece that's exactly the same size, and I picked some spots that I wanted to highlight with the watercolor paint. So to get ballerina, it's actually, I'll just show you on the sheet again so you can understand how this works. So I printed this on cardstock, so it's a little bit stronger, and then when you're using your watercolors on here to make a reference, it's not going to go right through your sheet. But so here it actually gives you the numbers that correspond with the little pot of watercolors. So ballerina was 1, which is white, which I know at the moment it doesn't look very white because I haven't cleaned it out. But it's 1 and 12, and then a smidgen of 3, which is the yellow color, and then a very, 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 very tiny bit of 20, which is this purple color. So that creates your ballerina. And then I used a plastic bag to smoosh it down onto my background because that's the kind of look that I wanted there. I wanted the texture of the watercolor and it to perfectly match. So the other thing is too, I actually kept it here. So this is one of the softer plastic bags. I like that more for smooshing, but because you get a different kind of look. It's a softer look versus the thicker plastic or plastic that is more rigid. You're going to get a completely different look out of it. But I actually just wiped my plastic bag off after I was finished, and I'll just throw this in with my watercolor paints until you can't use it anymore. So, okay, here we go. We're going to start assembling the layout. So, I also wanted to show you, because we're going to do some 4x6s, not 4x6s, 4x3s. Hey, Gay! On the layout. So I'm going to use 4 of them. So I like this size because this is the same aspect ratio as a full 4x6. So you don't have to crop your photo to get it down. This is the full size of the photo. I actually zoomed in just a little bit to get a little bit more of her on here. And you can print 2 of these on one 4x6. So I just wanted to show you this before I started the layout. So I do add the 2 of them onto one 4x6. Hey, Jenny, what are you doing watching me from the tropics? That is so funny. Hola, right back at you. I hope you are having a wonderful vacation. Okay, and then you all know me. I like the little white border. So I am going to trim off 1/8 of an inch. And I already have my photo mats. So, and I already trimmed down the top. So then I'll just trim her off a little bit here. But I wanted to just show you guys again. And I've done tutorials on how easy it is to actually put the two photographs onto the same 4x6. You can do it with lots of different sizes too, right? So I just wanted to put that first step with you guys. Okay, so here's how we're going to tie the whole thing together. And like I said, I have 4 4x3 photographs, or right, that go onto two 4x6s. Okay, so I'm just going to put these over here. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of my way. This is the leftovers of my black and white. I'm on your favorite channel. I'm pretty sure there's got to be like some fun Disney thing on that you could be watching instead of me. But I do have doodles on my page, so that's on my layout. So that's probably a good thing. Okay, so the way I decided to tie the two pages together is I've actually grabbed the same piece from that black and white mix-ins. And because it's a little bit of a funny pattern, I made sure that my pattern was going in the same direction, right? So this one to this one. Like I said, if you wanted to do it today with something, I would recommend either the new mix-ins or the Love Story black and white. I'm going to create a sketch for the layouts now that we're almost finished putting them together. So it'll be a double page spread. And I think that will be next week with all the measurements and stuff on it. So you don't need to worry about keeping track of that. Okay, so I seem to be a little bit crooked there. So I grabbed the same piece of black and white, and then I mirrored the ballerina sizes. And then I have this piece that I did the same smooshing on. So I'm going to do my cluster of embellishments to bring it over to this page up here. So that's why I've added the smooshing up here. And then I added some over here so that it'll stick out from behind my gridded background. And then it also ties in here because by the time I built up this whole cluster, I had lost a lot of that pink from behind. But guys, it's a crazy good match for ballerina on there. Okay, so I'm going to add this big square. So this is the same size as the other side to tie them together. And I did the same thing too. So once it's dried, right, you know that sometimes you can get a little bit of warping through the sections where you've added the watercolors. So I took it downstairs, I warmed up my Easy Press, and I put it between two tea towels, and I easy pressed the piece of white daisy, and it works perfectly. So if you ever have that problem, okay, we're gonna have a commercial break while I replace my tape runner. So if you ever have that problem and you have an easy press, it's totally an easy way to fix it. And I didn't make it obviously crazy hot. I think I did it at like 250 for like 30 seconds. And now it is nice. It takes the, sometimes you get like the waves. It just takes the waves out of it. So now I'm just going to center this. Okay. Let's just there we go. Okay, so that's how I'm going to tie those two together. And then, so this is what I've created for on this side. So you see how I have like the photo And then this is just the photo mat, so it's the true size. And then I did the ballerina that's like 1/4 of an inch bigger. And then the black is just like that 1/8 of an inch difference. So I'm going to just kind of repeat that same thing, but on a much the ruler trick. I like everything to be straight, and when it's not straight, it makes me crazy. So basically what I've done is I've created a big photo mat the same as this side, but we're going to add the 4 photos on here. And I'm going to move it over this way so it's weighted more towards this way, because I don't want it like smack dab in the center. So, but I want to still be able to see my ballerina watercolor. Just like that. So I'm going to add it, I think, about here. So just at like the 2-inch mark, I think. So my ruler is actually 2 inches, so that is perfect. There we go. So nice. We have that little bit that peeks out, right? That ties it out. Now I've got 2 rulers sitting behind me. That's hilarious. Okay, so now I have my cluster of photographs. So again, I repeated the same mats, right? So let me add these photos onto these mats. And the green is from Sawyer. And I forgot to check, but I think it was still available. Okay, so this is Obi driving out. But because he's looking this way, I feel like I have to put it on that in this side, even though it doesn't actually, well, it could be on our way home. So then I actually think we're going to do like that. So this way I got lots more photos on the layout. And if you had more, right, this is when you could add flip-flops, or if you needed to shrink them down, you could. I know, they are super cute. They've had, Obi got a haircut this week. So I love when he comes back from the haircut because he's actually like white again, or like pretty light, because as his hair grows out, he gets darker, and he smells so much better. So, but when they go to get their haircut, they get like a full day of daycare, and then they had their normal regular half day on Thursday. So they're good and tired this week. So this is Emmy trying to decide if she should go any deeper than her ankles. She did do, I will say, way better at the beach where she can actually like walk in. But I was not dressed to be wandering very far out in the water. Brian was throwing the frisbee for Obi because he'll chase the frisbee for like hours, and she was just chasing him. So I was trying to distract her so Obi could actually play frisbee. So, and yes, this is Obi's favorite position, even at like 110 kilometers an hour down the highway. He has the window open and the wind blowing through his hair. Well, Emmy will go farther. She just needs really good incentive. Like I said, she will swim with Obi, but he doesn't really want her to swim with him because she kind of is like a drowning child and wants to attach herself onto Obi. So they are funny characters. So, but she really did love the beach, I will say that. Okay, so then from here, I cut out this, almost this exact same pattern, number of pieces, but a slightly different configuration. So we have the Sawyer, we have the black and white mix-ins, I have ballerina, this is mix-in still, and then that's a little bit of sweetest honey. Okay, so on these ones, I actually distressed the edges with shortbread. So we're going to do that same thing. So I just take my shortbread ink, and because I don't have a lot of shortbread on this side, I thought it was super important to do that again. So this is my sponge. I've just cut it up. And this is actually just a piece of scrap shortbread paper. And I've just stapled it on there so that I remember that this is my shortbread sponge dauber. Or not sponge, not sponge dauber. And I'm just going to add just a little tiny bit to the leaves. And it actually made such a huge difference on the layout. It just kind of brought it all together. So, and that's a super easy way when you have like things that you've collected from all different sorts of things. An easy way to bring them together is to actually distress them with the same color ink. Okay, so let's attach this together and then I will distress it. So again, one of the 110 reasons I love this thin cut for the flowers is that the flowers all have a unique spot on them, so they're super easy to put together. So for this one, I look for this little spot right there, and it makes it super easy to put the two layers together. You could totally do this whole layout too, just with cardstock, right? With it being Cardstock Carnival, it's the perfect time. So, but the other thing with adding the distressed shortbread around the edges is if for some reason you actually happen to miss and you didn't glue your two pieces together properly, it also kind of hides that. Okay, so I'm just going to use foam glue dots today to speed up my assembly process. So I love the thick and thin foam tape. I just literally stocked up. So my box actually just came today, so I was able to fill my tray back up. So even though this is the same center from that flower, I'm just turning it so it's like not exactly the same. And now you can still see the little bits of pink peeking out there to tie in the shortbread. Okay, I'm going to do all my leaves first and just kind of set them down. So I have the leaf and then, oops, the 3 or 4, the stitched leaf that's just by itself, and then the one that has the 4. And that's kind of what I'm using to frame our sections. And I'm going to bring this down so we can see some of that watercolor underneath there. So I'm so ready to go to the beach today. Not today, because we've got snow. So I don't want to go to the beach today. Again, I meant to say. Okay, so that is kind of what we are doing right there. Okay, so then I mimicked. So I took the pieces to tie the two sides together. I took the pieces, but they might not be exactly the same, but they're going to be similar to try and help tie the one side to the other. So this one, because it's a bunch of the funky flowers all put together, I'm just going to do my distressing, and then I'm just going to take my bone folder. You could do the same thing with a pencil or actually the back side of your piercing tool, and I'm just gently bending my flowers just a little bit to add some dimension to them. Don't pull too hard or you will rip them. So, and that's nice because that's going to fill kind of like the little cement spot in there. So this, I don't think you'll see it very much on this mink, but same thing. I'll use different layers of the foam to attach the flower together. And I'm just kind of offsetting them so that we get some more volume. So you can see the one through the other. These two are going together. So this one I might just add flat. So I'll just add my glue onto the mint piece, and I'm just going to hold this down for a second. It won't take long for it to adhere. Okay, and then I have one of the fun little centers just with ballerina. And I'm going to add this one on here flat too. Oh, and I'm so happy I cleaned out my liquid glass nozzle again, so it is totally working. Okay, and then one of the little stitched centers. I love anything that has the little stitching on it. I think it adds so much to a thin cut. So I'm going to use a thick one here. And this might need 2 of these. So after this, I'll take photos of this and then I will put them up together. And then, like I said, my plan is to actually have a sketch for these. So that'll be like a download. Okay, so we've got that one. And then I have one last flower here. And I did keep some extra pieces over here just in case I need them. So I'm going to glue this one together and then do the distressing because you won't see it on the underneath piece. So I think I just did my ballerina upside down. Yeah, there we go. But luckily I had another one. Lots of times if I'm throwing like the thing cuts through the machine anyway, I'll cut extras and I'll just throw them. Like for example here where I knew I was going to do the second layout, I had extras just sitting around. Okay, so let's close this up so I don't get that on more. Okay, so now I am going to just add these. So like I said, I think I want to have this a little bit farther down. And I'm just going to actually use some mini glue dots on here on the stems. Thank you, Missy. It is really pretty, and in person, it's really pretty. So the shortbread and the ballerina with the black and white and a little bit of mint are very pretty. Okay, so I didn't add any onto the leaves so that if I want to, I can add a little dot underneath once we start adding the flowers in. So that looked a little crooked there for a second. It's all good though. Okay, so I'm just going to add some dimension here. This is not down yet. So everything that I did on the one side, I'm going to do on the other side. This is for somewhere or not. Right, so here we go. I'm going to add this in here. I think I'm just trying to decide. So like I said, I'm just adding glue dots on the stem. So if I want to come back and add 3D foam under the leaves, once I have everything down, if I decide I need a little bit more volume, I can. Okay, so here we go. And then I can just add this with just regular tape runner. And it looks like it's coming from the bigger flower there. Okay, so I'm going to pop this one up. Okay, and then I'm going to add this one. And then I'm going to splatter it with the shimmer brush because I did that on the other side. And then I will add the little circles in and I'll add some clear shimmer brush. So like I said, I'm looking for ways to incorporate the things that I did on the left-hand side onto the right-hand side. Okay, so let's move these glue dots out of my way. Put the lid on my liquid glass. Okay. So now I'm just trying to decide. I have little bits and pieces up here. If I want to add them, I can. I'm looking for like a little center that's not. I thought I had some extra shortbread ones, but I don't see them. So, oh, there's one in my hand. My goodness. There we go. And I probably still have enough ink on here. And then this, I love this funky little center that comes out of that flower. There we go. I think that'll be helpful. Okay. Okay, I think I should stop. Okay, so now we're going to splatter it. So I am going to, because I did that over here, I'm not really sure if you can see, but you can see I added splatter into each of the clusters. So we're going to do that with the shortbread shimmer brush. And then on some of the pieces, I've got clear shimmer brush. And then we're going to add the circles. So I don't think I'm going to get too wild and crazy. So hopefully that's enough to protect my photos. So I'm just going to shake up my shimmer brush. If you're saying me too to the beach, that's funny because aren't you at the beach? Okay. So I am just going to squirt just a little bit because I don't need a ton, right? So I'm just going to squirt a little tiny bit onto my block. And see, that's even more than I probably need. And I'm just going to oh, the flower centers. Yes, because I was going to say, if you're saying that you want to go to the beach, that's just silly because you are there. Okay. I love the one with the little, but I actually like all of them. Like I said, I like the, hey Sue, I like the ones with the little stitch circles or stitching on them too. They're just kind of, it's really nice. It just adds quite a nice little detail. You can always watch the replay. And like I said, there'll be pictures and stuff too after. So I'm just going to, because of course I did not put down my all-purpose mat because how messy could I really get on one layout? Okay, so I just have now my clear one and I'm just going to pick some spots that are the same. So I did most of the centers. And the nice thing about the splattering with the shimmer brushes is it dries really quickly, right? Versus like doing it with something else. And then I could even add a little bit to some of the leaves that I want to. This one maybe. I'm just trying to stay clear of where I just splattered. It dries pretty quickly, which is the nice thing. Okay, so then too, I think I am going to add some, so I know it totally doesn't pick it up properly, but I am going to add a few glue dots behind a few of these leaves. So just like right here, just add a little bit of dimension. So they'll still stay up even once they're under the page protector. So it just creates dimension in the whole little cluster there. So now you can see this one will still stay bent when it goes under the page protector. And I'm going to do this one too. And then I'm going to do two at the top. This one I'm totally fine. It'll go down once it's under the page. So I'm going to do these two at the top here. So, and if you missed the first page, I'll add that link in the comments below. I am very messy. But luckily, most of it got caught with my paper towel. So there we go. Oh, okay. So we need our circle still. So on the other side, I picked mostly the peach and the green. I think that's exclusively the colors I used. So I am going to do that same thing here. So I just grabbed a few and added them to a glue dot, and then use them, like I said, just like the same way that I use sequins. It, like, obviously you've got a ton, you're not going to use all of them on shakers, so let's add some to the layout. So I'm just going to tuck them in a few spots around the cluster, like I said, to kind of mimic the same way they are here. And it's nice because the peach is not the same color as the ballerina, so you can see them. They don't blend right in. Because I would say this is peach and not ballerina. It is for sure. Of course, I don't have a piece of peach right here, but okay, that one's got its glue dot attached to it, so let's add it. But they're fun. And they're a little bit easier to attach this way than trying to add a sprinkle this way. So, and I thought it was a perfect mix to, especially to go with like all the black and whites. So, okay, so I have an odd number, right? So I have 5 of them that I'm adding in this cluster. So there we go. Okay, so I think now we are done. So let's put them side by side. I'll move that out of the way. So like I said, if you need the chart, just comment chart and I'll come back and add that link because I know some people missed it last time. So there we go. Now we have 2 pages. They did turn out really well. And actually it was interesting. So earlier today, I added this photo in just to remind you guys that I was coming back to do the second page. And somebody said, oh, this inspired me to do my wedding album like this. I think it would be great. Like something like, let me just put myself back in the frame. Something like this, you could totally carry through a whole album, right? So just by adding similar clusters in all of the sections. So, like I said, they're one of my favorite thin cuts from the annual. I mean, because I use the same ones over and over and over again. It's really not that hard to tell which are my favorites. So, I know the colors turned out really pretty. And I will say, okay, I'm going to say this. Mint is not my favorite color. I like lots of the colors from close to my heart, but mint would not be my favorite color. But I really like how it played in this layout. Because I probably gravitate to brighter colors more often than like a pastel color combination. But then it's funny because like I think like ballerina, I really like ballerina, but I actually think it played really well, like between the shortbread, the ballerina, and the mint. I think it all turned out really well. So I convinced you to get the thin cuts. Well, it's not like I have, like there's, if you go back, and sometimes it's easier to find things, to be super honest with you. If you want to watch a video, sometimes it's super much easier to find them on YouTube just because it's just video and nothing else in the feed. I've done tons of projects with the thin cuts. Like there's a few things that I would always suggest that if you use thin cuts, that they're worth the investment. So lots of times I would always say invest in like a floral. You can use it for layouts. You can use it for cards. You could use it on a home decor piece, right? So a floral is always good. And then any sort of things that are like fundamentals, like circles, squares, things like that, I would always recommend that too, right? Something that you know that when you invest in it, you're going to use it a lot. And these flowers, since the very beginning, I've loved them. One day I'll have to come back on and I'll have to do all of the layouts. I'll show all of the layouts that I've used these flowers because I think there's like tons, even just on like lives. Because I know I was actually looking for them last time and I forgot to pull them out before. But for sure, there's tons. I know there's the layout where there's a photo of me and my husband on the big heart. There's tons. So maybe I will look and pull them out of the album, and maybe I'll do a flip through because for sure there's tons of layouts. I have tons of inspiration. Maybe that's even like a super good blog post, right? All of the layouts that I use the thin cuts on. I was actually thinking of starting a new feature about like some of my favorite things. So like from each idea book, pulling out some of my favorite things that I think like you could get a lot of use out of. But for sure, anything that's like a fundamental piece. Okay, everybody's saying yes, please to that. So I will look for it because I know I've used them a ton of times. And it's funny because I cleaned my office between idea book cycles. I cleaned my office just so that not everything is right around. But I will pull them out and maybe I will try and even do that next week. So, okay, guys, that's what I got for you today. I hope you liked it. And like I said, I will create a SketchUp for these two and it'll be downloadable eventually. I'm just not really sure exactly when. But like I said, this is a fun one. And I think I could see using it in so many different ways too. So like I said, I will create a sketch for it, but just by taking it in a different direction, you could totally change it up. So obviously with the flowers, it's much more masculine, but you could change it up so these sections were like stars or something different, like I said, a fundamental shape to turn it into a more masculine layout very easily. So that is my plan. So I'll talk to you later, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.